Good morning, I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche organization with your daily video update for April 23rd, 2024. Well, while there's jubilation in Kiev and in the NATO headquarters in Brussels and in all the corporate boardrooms that are connected to the military-industrial financial complex, jubilation over the vote in Congress last Saturday to provide another $100 billion almost for the endless wars, as well as for the approval of the warrantless surveillance method used by the FISA court. Much of the world is convinced that it's time to move on, that the unipolar order is finished, that it's not healthy for most of the world. And you have the motion from the BRICS countries. They're looking for a new strategic architecture and a new development architecture based on cooperation, not colonial looting, not the predatory attacks on the raw materials and the imposition of IMF austerity policies that prevent nations from developing. This has been the policy since the end of World War II of the West, in which the British Empire was replaced by the US Empire. And so now these countries are looking at what just happened in the Congress. 60 plus billion more for the war in Ukraine, which is a losing war. It cannot be won. 25 plus billion for Israel. While some of that is supposed to go for humanitarian aid, there's still a cover-up by the West of the actual genocidal policies by the Israelis. And now 8 plus billion for preparing for a war in the Indo-Pacific. And so with the commitment to IMF austerity and military force to impose these colonial terms, the rest of the world is moving on. While many of them may pay lip service to the green agenda, they're demanding the use of their own fossil fuels, of oil and gas, as well as the development of nuclear power, hydro, and transportation systems, modern transportation systems. And they're open to the idea of LaRouche's Oasis Plan as a model for cooperation for development. They're looking at the move to national currencies, which is already underway, to fund trade, to take away the power of the dollar as a tool of blackmail. Now, in this context, there were two notable developments I want to report to you. One was a speech given by Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov to the Moscow Non-Proliferation Conference, in which he warned that the US and Europe are, quote, still dreaming of inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia, unquote, and they will continue the war in Ukraine, the proxy war in Ukraine, to the last Ukrainian. He accused the three Western nuclear powers of being the main sponsors of the Kiev regime and said this increases the threat of war between Russia and NATO up to and including the possibility of nuclear confrontation. And he accused them of making up stories of Russian intention to send nuclear weapons into space in order to increase the spending for their own militarization of space. And what Lavrov was referring to overall is that instead of a dialogue on non-proliferation, instead of negotiations to settle situations such as Ukraine and Gaza, the West is committed to using military force to impose its will. And that's what the West calls the rules-based order. It's an absolute violation of all forms of international law. And that's why the threat for world war is so great and why so many nations are looking for a way out from under the control of the unipolar order. Now, the second development was the issuing of the Colonna investigation headed by former French Foreign Minister Colonna, who said there's no basis for Israel's charges against the UN Works and Relief Agency, that they were involved in the terrorist attacks of October 7th. Israel charged UNRWA with having some aid workers involved in the attack, and they used this to get Western countries to cut off funding to UNRWA at a time of famine, when UNRWA is the only relief agency or the major relief agency providing food for Palestinian refugees. The commission found no evidence to back the Israeli charge. and said that Israel failed to produce any evidence to back the charges when they were asked for it. This was reported in The Guardian and the Times of Israel and other papers that are hardly pro-Hamas publications. And these are viewed by the rest of the world as evidence that the West is covering up for Israeli intention of ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Gaza. It makes it more urgent than ever that the Oasis Plan be implemented as an incentive for all sides to achieve peace based on strategic concerns and also on the development perspective that's necessary to provide peace. So I'll be linking the Oasis Plan video to today's update, and also the conference video from last April 13th, the discussion the Schiller Institute had on why the Oasis Plan is the solution to move the world toward a model of cooperation and peace. Hello, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Support our independence to produce videos like these. Become a member of the LaRouche organization at thelarouche.org/member. By becoming a member for $25 or more, you'll get special access to the EIR Alert Daily Briefing and Weekly Magazine, which is what I read to stay on top of things.